This video is brought to you by Atlas VPN. Hello noble ones, welcome back to my channel. This is the Metatron speaking, and among the many different types of videos that an eclectic channel like mine often covers, some could be considered controversial, I suppose. Several among you have asked me what my personal political ideas are, while detractors of the channel have been assuming my positions for me within the political spectrum in an, of course, unfair manner over the years. Considering the fact that all 800,000 of you noble ones keep growing with each passing day, with people constantly joining the channel, therefore your opinions and your ideas matter not only at an individual level, but also collectively, since you are the very reason why this platform exists in the public sphere in the first place. So today I'll answer your question. This is the very first and most likely last video where I talk actual politics, and I've decided to make it 100% crystal clear that that is the topic of this upload. So if you're not interested, you don't want to hear that, and you're only here for history, culture and civilization, feel free to skip this one and I will see you for my next regular upload. For those of you who decide to stay, since conciseness is the goal for today's work, let's break this video down into succinct and well-defined sections. No matter what sort of noise you hear, this channel is not political. It may appear to be, for the simple reason that I don't shy away from topics that do overlap with political drama. That is of course my choice as a creator, but in my defense, more and more topics in our day and age are becoming political within the media environment. From public education to historical denialism, society of collective memories are being overwritten, video games, movies, theatre, sport, we are getting to a point where we can't talk about anything without getting drenched in political propaganda, spread through the power of political communication within the digital and social media cyberspace. You see, propaganda as a conceptual framework is indeed interdisciplinary in nature, and in the information era, it aims to digitally connect with electoral constituencies in real time, effectively promoting their party political issue and agendas at the expenses of well-researched truth, and biased interpretation of facts systematically used as a form of mental manipulation. And the reason why I oppose such methods is because they severely undermine alternative ways of thinking, which would instead lead to the germination of academic discourse and open debate. So the real enemy that I'm trying to combat with this platform is indeed misinformation, but how can you remain apolitical if part of this misinformation comes in fact from a political perspective? And my answer to that is that I always try to base any foundation of an argument into either history, culture, civilization, or languages. So I don't talk about political leaders or who to vote or what political party to support, but I do attack arguments when they overlap and they are invading another subject, such as literature, linguistics, culture, and what have you. It's politics that is in my field, not the other way around. I'm in my natural habitat here. So also to those who say that I shouldn't have entered the culture war, well, I didn't. It's the culture war that has expanded into all aspects of life. With that being said, I do of course have my own personal political preferences, which I do always try to keep on hold whenever approaching any subject matter on this channel. And I do that in order to try to be as intellectually honest as possible in any given analysis. So, as a channel, not as a private individual, we'll get to that in a second, but as a channel, the only position I claim here is evidence-based factual neutrality, filtered through the competence dimension. As a criterion or theoretical point of departure, it encompasses epistemological, empirical, and ontologically confirmed reality, evaluated through cognitive ability. Now, being unbiased is a struggle for everyone, as being 100% unbiased is basically impossible. We all have a certain level of bias, some more than others. My message is that as seekers of truth, we need to learn to suppress it in favor of intellectual honesty during any given research. And on that note, the next item or point of conversation I'm going to talk about on this video is going to be mutually constitutive, as I will be telling you my personal political preferences and positions. This is my way to be as candid and transparent as possible to you, so that if I do sometimes end up slipping and let my ideological thoughts and personal preferences shadow my own judgment, which can happen to anyone, you knowing what positions I hold will make it easier for you to correct my misalignments. I'm always open to be corrected and to retract any statement that I've made publicly if new evidence is presented to me that seems to suggest that in fact I was incorrect in my previous assessment. And I'm happy to receive these corrections from either right-wingers, left-wingers, conservatives, liberals. It doesn't matter, as long as you bring good, substantiated evidence. I will take a properly sourced correction as a way to ensure a constant recentering and gradual gravitation for this platform towards factual reality. Consequently, that is one of the reasons why I strongly believe that a civil debate is mutually beneficial for all parties involved. Hence, if you have different political positions to mine, I don't hate you for it. I don't shame you for it. I respect you and your freedom. And I would sit down and discuss in full recognition of your freedom and liberty in front of a coffee. Now, if you're like me and you like to surf the internet looking for interesting historical information, it's a great idea to do it in safety, which is why you should totally use today's sponsor, Atlas VPN. A VPN is a virtual private network that makes all of your internet traffic travel through an encrypted tunnel, and this way it protects you from spying, public Wi-Fi dangers, it hides your IP address, and online activities. Atlas VPN is a great choice because it was developed by cyber security specialists, and among other things, it gives you access to the Data Breach Monitor, which is a security feature designed to track any data breaches related to your online account, automatically scanning any leaked information. But another add-on through Atlas VPN is the fact that you can use Netflix from any countries, regardless of where you are. So let's say that you wanted to watch a show that is only available in the UK, but you live in America. No problem, just change your country through the VPN and boom, access granted. I always have Atlas VPN active on my machines, and that is because one account lets you use multiple devices. I personally really like Atlas VPN not only because it's a great choice, but also because it's really affordable, and that links to today's special offer. Grab the big deal, that's $1.83 a month for 3 years plus 3 months for free. If you've been considering getting a VPN but you weren't sure about the prices, then now is the time. And don't forget to click the link in the description. That's $1.83 a month for 3 years plus 3 months for free. Keep in mind that this is a time-limited offer, so be quick and click the link in the description. And big thanks to Atlas VPN for sponsoring my video. Now on to the accusations. Several people on that godforsaken wasteland we call Reddit have accused me of being an extreme far-right winger, and sometimes even alt-right. And of course, by their language of choice, it's easily deduced that these are detractors and haters, not people that are trying to constructively criticize my work. So this video is not for them. It is, however, a way to counter these accusations and also claim my right to self-identify myself politically. I consider myself to be a right-leaning moderate. I prefer to usually call myself a right-leaning moderate or a moderate who is right-leaning, simply because there is, of course, overlap, but there are also points of differences between European conservatives and, for example, American conservatives. We, of course, have many things in common, but we also have several points of disagreement. And on certain items, I tend to have points of agreement with two ideologies, which in Europe are called liberal conservatism and classical liberalism, which are different from modern American social liberalism. It gets really complicated, which is why I tend to ditch all of the nomenclature and consider myself, I'm a moderate, but I'm not perfectly centric. I tend to be right-leaning. As I'm moderate by nature, I don't tend to just take one group and associate myself with every single belief that that group holds. I in fact tend to look at everything that is on the table, both on the liberal side and on the conservative side, and then I start choosing those areas that I myself consider to be more valid in a case-by-case scenario. There are, of course, some core values that are definite and solid in my mind, but there are also other aspects that I'm happy to listen to someone who thinks differently from me, and even to learn from you if you are more knowledgeable on that specific matter. And that is why, if truth is what you seek, then we are on the same side, regardless of a few possible points of political disagreement we may have. So truth versus lies is us versus them, as long as you're being intellectually honest in whatever you believe. I think that the fact that I tend to be right-leaning more often than not has to do with my upbringing. I was brought up with traditional values. I believe in the traditional family. I believe in the importance of marriage. I also think that there is wisdom in some cultural achievements of our past which should be protected and maintained. In my mind, there are some traditional values that should be preserved. With that being said, it doesn't mean that I'm against any forms of progress per se. It's just that in my mind, that becomes a case-by-case scenario, because I do believe that all progress is change, but I don't believe that all change is progress. To give you an example, and you probably already know this, but I do not support this idea of my truth, her truth, their truth. I just believe there is one truth, and two mutually exclusive opposites cannot both be true at the same time. One is true, one is false. As those who have been following me on Twitter, or should I say X, already know, I'm also a strong supporter of freedom of speech. I'm against censorship and I'm against silencing. With that being said, on the same note, I also believe that every person has the right and freedom to live their life as they will. In fact, that is one of the core beliefs that are immutable within my mind frame. Freedom. So, even though I tend to prefer more traditional values and a more traditional family for my life, that doesn't mean that I forcefully apply those precepts onto you. In fact, if you don't want to live according to these traditional values that have to do with societal understanding of the traditional family, I think it is your right to make that choice, and I will fight for your freedom to be able to disagree with me without being afraid of standing for what you believe in. I would fight to preserve your freedom, whether you be liberal or conservative. One exception to the sort of fundamental core beliefs that I do not hold private, but I do let it come through the channel, is my idea of equality. And when I say equality, I mean true equality for all. So not only equality for minorities, but also equality for white people. Don't treat anyone badly is my position, and I strongly oppose all forms of supremacy. White supremacy and black supremacy. And because I also reject the latter, some people call me a racist. So be it. I know I'm not a racist, and in fact, they can continue to mislabel me. It matters not. I also want to address the fact that some people have noted that on my content, as people say, I tend to focus more on far-left propaganda or far-left changing of facts, rather than also tackling with the same intensity far-right, or should we say alt-right, historically incoherent positioning. While I do accept the constructive criticism, I also have a response to that. Even though it is true that on this channel I've made videos when I was standing against SJWs back in the day, or also videos where I tended to fight what we tend to call woke activists. I have also made videos such as this one here, when I'm debunking ideas that are instead in connection with white nationalism and some alt-right beliefs when it comes to, for example, the all-white representation in statuary and art forms in the classical period. And as I always say, every time I fight blackwashing, I also say that I strongly resent whitewashing too, and I just want people to be represented the way they are. Now, even though I say this, I've seen people in the comments saying, well, yeah, you do mention whitewashing, but you don't have full-on dedicated videos about that, but you do have several videos dedicated to blackwashing. Isn't that inconsistent? And my answer to that is, even though I resent both, let's be honest about it. They are not at the same level of intensity in our day and age. What I mean by that is, yes, whitewashing was absolutely present in the 60s, in the 70s, but where is all of this whitewashing of historical characters right now? Literally, I mean it. Find me one documentary, one movie that is representing Shaka Zulu with a white actor. I'll debunk the shit out of it. But in my experience, we are much more exposed to both the blackwashing of historical characters and also a lot of other far-left positions right now in the media than we are to alt-right. In fact, to be honest, I never see anything from the alt-right. So I think that unless you go and specifically look for those kind of forums when they talk about, I don't know, the ancient Romans being all Nordic, which is nonsense, and I will debunk it very soon on this channel, unless you go and look for them, where are all these? Open Netflix and find me one documentary or TV series that has been manipulated by the alt-right. If you can find one, I'll debunk it. The problem is that when I open Netflix, all I see is blackwashing everywhere, which is why I focus on that. That is what I see, and therefore I react to what I'm exposed to. And before you say Gods of Egypt, as I have mentioned already, Gods of Egypt doesn't really count as whitewashing because the gods were not black people who were whitewashed by white actors. Does it look stupid? Yes, I didn't even watch it because it didn't look well done, but the gods of Egypt were gold-skinned. So who am I going to protect? The history and true representation of gold people? One god was green, one god was blue. I suppose Anubis, if they represented Anubis with a white guy, then sure, Anubis' head is black. They are wrong. But you see where I'm going with this. Not to mention people like this lady who try to tell you that blackwashing isn't a thing, which is a form of intense gaslighting. And at the same time, when we're talking about LGBTQ issues, if you can find a historical character that has been misrepresented and he was gay, for example, and they are not showing that and are purposely changing it into a straight person, I'll debunk it all the same. It's just that I don't see them. Whereas the opposite type of overwriting of history is everywhere. Hence, my choice to focus on it. I hope that makes sense. All in all, at the end of this video, I would like to finish by saying that these times are clearly characterized by cultural division, and we are under the constant pressure of external forces at play that are continuously pulling us apart and dividing us into two predetermined, neat political groups with the aim of clear population control. And since these forces are specifically designed to work within the confines of the human mind, they are particularly difficult to resist. And I expect this situation to become even worse as we approach 2024, as political parties on all sides are trying to maximize electoral mileage. My way to combat all of that is to try and find historical truth that is based on neutral, evidenced, fully sourced, documented data. Thank you for listening to me. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments. Don't forget to check out Atlas VPN in the comments section and their amazing offer. And as always, thank you for watching, and remember, the Metatron has spread his wings. Goodbye.